What's up, everybody? David, Pro Duo Flippers here. Today, I want to talk about just one of the keys I think for my success that maybe you guys could take and use in your own reselling business. Just one of the things that I think is key for me for getting successful sales, having consistent sales, and just doing fairly well. And that is selling a variety of items in my store. So that means sourcing a variety of items in my store, right? So a lot of people say that they struggle to find enough inventory, and this is something that you can do to make it a lot easier to find inventory. So this is like the main reason why I can find so much inventory is because I sell in all different categories. So I don't just sell shoes or clothing. I sell both of those. I sell sporting goods, electronics, collectibles, industrial type stuff, auto parts, basically whatever I can find that has a good profit. I'll pick it up and get it listed, right? And so there's a lot of different reasons for why this helps me in my business. For one, I don't have to travel out of town to get inventory. I live in my opinion, a smallish town. There's about, I would say, 60,000 people or so here, and then you have to drive like I've mentioned before, like maybe another 45 minutes to get to another comparable sized town. So it's a small town to me, as I grew up in California, but for Idaho, it's one of the bigger towns. But it is kind of isolated a little bit. It's not in the Boise area where there's a lot of bigger towns all connected to Boise in that area. But anyway, so there are ways to source lots more inventory if you stay in one category, but it usually involves going to more stores. And if you don't have more stores available, then it involves traveling out of town for sourcing trips or something, which is fine if that's what you want to do. I kind of think that sounds like fun anyway, but it's just not something I've done. Melissa and I have talked about doing that a little bit, maybe taking a trip out of town and just kind of sourcing for a couple days and then coming back, just as a way to mix it up and have something different. But regardless, I don't have to do that. I have about 3 decent thrift stores here in town, and there is an auction company that does regular auctions here in town. They do auctions about once every 2 weeks or so, or once every week and a half maybe. And so I can get more than enough stuff to keep Melissa and I both busy listing the rest of the time. So, and that is because I look at all different categories. So when I go through thrift stores, I wouldn't say I look at every single thing in the store, but I walk through a route through the whole store mostly. I mean, there are certain things that I kind of skip, but I would say I look at all the men's clothing. I look at women's clothing for at least pants and outerwear. And then I look in women's and men's shoes. I look in sporting goods. I look at bags, I look at electronics, I look at home goods, I look at sporting goods, hats. The one thing I don't really look at is books, because there's some bigger booksellers in town that kind of go through those books, and I just can't find them as quickly as they do. And I assume that they've all been there because they go to thrift stores every single day, and they go through every new book that comes out. And so I assume they've all been combed through. So unless they bring out a rack of books while I'm there, I won't go through the books. But anyway, I pretty much go through everything else. And so I am very curious. I'm always looking up new items. I'm always learning more and more about things that are worth money that I didn't realize before. And so it's just about doing the work and getting on your phone and looking stuff up as you're sourcing, and you can find tons of stuff. And so that helps in more than one just way. I mean, first of all, of course, it just makes it easier to find inventory. And so what else could that mean is that if it's easy to find lots of inventory, then you can be a little bit pickier about what will make more profit. So let's just say I'm selling only shoes, and I'm not finding that many shoes. I would probably be more tempted to pick up some shoes that would be smaller profit, or even maybe some riskier ones that might not be profit at all, just so I can find enough inventory to keep my store full. So I think that by having an abundance of items to look at, that I can get some higher profit items. It's not as risky to me, because I research my comps and I can see that there's profit there. And I'm not taking a risk on those smaller profit or potentially riskier items. So that's another way that I think that the way that looking at variety is helping me out in my business. Another way it could benefit, I think, in my opinion, is just that it's more interesting. So I mean, I could do just just books or just electronics or just clothing, but it's kind of fun to pick up different items all the time. So things that you've never looked up before, maybe some vintage clothing or maybe some electronics that you've never even heard of that you can't believe how much they're worth or whatever. So I think it just makes things a little more interesting. And that always helps with motivating you to list and things like that. So, and then I think probably the last reason that maybe it could help is that I would imagine that certain categories are going to have slow times or slow periods, whether it be seasonal type things or whether it be just slow periods during the week or whatever, where one category might not be doing as well as it normally does. And so in those times you have all these other items and all these other categories that could be kind of picking up the slack that are still doing well, whereas the one category that maybe somebody else is only in isn't doing very well, and so they have a super slow day of sales or period of sales anyway. So that's kind of it. It's kind of a basic I think feel like it's just a basic key to my success, but there's a lot of people out there who just stick to one or two categories. And if that's you and you're having trouble finding inventory, then I was just venture into some other categories. You know, electronics, yes, you will have to, test some stuff. If you're buying bigger items, yes, you will have to, spend a little more time packaging. But in my experience, both electronics and bigger items have bigger profit. And so that extra time spent is well worth it. So, if you're not having trouble finding items and you find plenty of stuff that in your category that you love to do, then don't do anything differently. I'm here, like I've mentioned many times before on my channel, I'm just kind of showing an example of what I do and what's working for me, and just kind of giving you ideas from my own personal experience. So as always, there are other people who are doing as good or better than me, doing things differently. But just here giving you my tips and my advice from my experience. So, okay, so what I'm going to do now is just kind of go through and show you an example of what I'm talking about. So I had 14 sales since I shipped items out yesterday. So I'm just going to go over in detail. I'm going to show you everything that sold, the 14 items that sold and how much they sold for or whatever, and show you comps. And so here I'll go show you that now. Okay, so this is everything that has sold since I shipped out yesterday late morning. So I believe there is maybe 14 items here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 items. Pretty good sales overnight, or I should say after midnight. I think I've sold 8 things so far today, and we're already at like $380, which is pretty good considering things have slowed down so far this month, I suppose, compared to the fourth quarter. Anyway, I'm just going to kind of go through these and kind of show you I mean, you can kind of see just looking at it, the variety of stuff that I'm selling here. I've got these skis. I've got a Book of Mormon. I've got a weight plate from Bowflex Select Tech adjustable dumbbell. I've got a car part, an old car part. I've got this vintage jewelry box, some DVDs, some fire extinguisher brackets. I've got this little sculpture thing here. I've got a vintage t-shirt. I've got some Burton snowboard pants. I've got some vintage snow pants, Budweiser King of Beers. I've got some new Nike golf shoes, an Empire snowboard jacket, and these Scott ski poles. So I'm just going to kind of go through them one at a time. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. This is my first attempt at using the GoPro. So I'm just going to kind of quickly go through and talk about, as best I can remember, how much I paid for them, where I got them, and how much they sold for. So these skis I just found in the garage last night. I forgot I even had them. They had a $5. There was 2 pairs of them. They were each $5. I got them at a garage sale. This was the nicer pair. There was another pair that was kind of rough. It had some nicks in it, and it was an older style, but there was the same thing. It was Solomon Snowblades, which are like trick skis. So I paid $5 a piece for them. I sold the other pair last night on Facebook Marketplace for $30. And then I sold these overnight for $100 plus $35 shipping. So that'll be great profit on both of those. I sold this Book of Mormon. I pick up Book of Mormon, religious books or Bibles and things like that all the time. I usually get them in lots at the auction from like when they do estate sales. when people pass away, they tend to have a lot of Bibles and stuff like that. I'll just pick those up for super cheap. This one only sold for $9.99, but that's probably worth it. I'm sure there was some other books that came with it. And it'll cost just maybe $3 to ship or so. This is it's a Ford spacer, and it's kind of heavy. There's probably weighs a couple pounds. I bought a huge lot of car parts a long time ago, and I still am pulling some out of the garage and listing them. This is one of the ones we pulled out recently. I think this is the second spacer I've sold, but this one sold for $65. So it'll probably go in a padded flat rate mailer for $7.52. So a great profit on that. This is a Bowflex. This came from a broken Bowflex 552 Select Tech adjustable dumbbell. So it was broken, so I am just selling the individual weight plates. This is the second small one I've sold. I have a feeling that the small ones sell better because they're maybe more likely to break. I'm not sure. But I sold this for $25. It's the second one I've sold for $25. It'll go in a padded flat rate as well. And then this, I came out of an auction. I didn't buy the lot that this was in for this. This just happened to be there, and I didn't realize what it was worth. This doesn't even work. It whines, but it doesn't play. And I put that in the description, and somebody messaged me about it to make sure that they understood how it didn't work. And then they still bought it. I had sent an offer for $85 and maybe $12 shipping or $15 shipping. I'm not sure. But anyway, almost $100 on this. And I'm guessing I paid probably very little for that lot. Maybe like $7.50 or something like that. And I can't remember what else was in the lot, but anyway, great profit on that one. These DVDs didn't do as good as I thought they would. I picked them up for like 59 cents each at the auction. There was more than these. One set sold fairly fast, and then this one took forever to sell and ended up selling for $18, but that'll go medium mail for probably $2.80. So still a decent profit, but it took a lot longer to sell than I thought. These I just listed yesterday. I got these at the auction as well for I think only like $7.50. There's actually 7 of them total. So I listed 3. I listed them in pairs. So there's a quantity of 3. One of the pairs sold, and I still have the one oddball one left. I'll probably list it too. But anyway, these sold for, I can't remember what was shipping and what was not, but it was $50 for the pair, and they're fairly heavy. It'll probably cost me $20, $18-20 to ship. But like I said, I only paid $7.50, so profit on these are going to be about $25 each. There's 3 of them, so $75 profit maybe out of $7.50. That's pretty good. This year I came out of the auction. I did pay up for this one. I remember I spent about $35 or so, and it sold for just right around $100 with shipping. So I'll show you the comps on these. I'll attach them. I guess you've already seen that, but pretty cool little sculpture here. Montana Silversmiths. Anyway, that sold for about $100. Vintage t-shirt. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw I posted about this recently, about these vintage t-shirts I picked up at the auction. And there was a bunch of wrestling ones, and there's a bunch of like concert t-shirts, but the wrestling ones have been doing really well. This one sold for $45, and I think I have a few, maybe just 1 or 2 wrestling ones left, but I've sold about 5 or 6 of them, and they've done really well. And I paid up for them at the auction too. I can't remember, maybe $70 for the lot of t-shirts, but I've definitely made a couple $100 off just that one lot. And then these are some Burton snowboarding pants, and even though they're stained from, it looks like what somebody was wearing a belt or something, they still sold fairly well. I'll post what they sold for. I think it was around 30 or $35. Same thing with these vintage snow pants that have embroidered. They're Columbias, and they've got Bud King of Ears on them. They sold for $35. Those took a while to sell, but I picked these up at the thrift store for I think $6. And then we have this. I saw a lot of snowboard ski jackets. I have this one, which is pretty nice, and I feel like sold a little bit cheaper than it should have, but we're getting into January, so I started reducing my prices to make sure that this stuff gets cleared out before the season's over. But anyway, it's Empire. It's a women's medium purple snowboard jacket. Pretty nice. I think it sold for $37, including shipping. And then these Nike golf shoes, Nike Zoom golf shoes. These are like brand new. I picked these up at a yard sale for, I think, $10. And it's not really the best time of the year. I probably could have got a little more if I would have held out till spring again. But anyway, they did pretty good. And then last but not least, I've got these ski poles. I bought a bunch of ski poles. I don't even remember where I got them. I usually pick these up at garage sales and thrift stores whenever I see them. So I know I had another pair of Scott ski poles, almost identical to these, but a different colored design on them, and they just sold recently too. But these I think just sold for $34. I usually only pay between $2 and $5 for ski poles, and they'll probably cost about $12 to ship or so. So not a huge profit there, but pretty easy money. So that's it. So you can see the huge variety. So all right, so that's it. That's my 14 items that sold. I think it was about just over $700 in sales. So that's kind of split up. That's not exactly what my day sales was, because part of it was from the day before, and part of it was for a few of them were in the morning or overnight. So, but basically $700 in sales going out, and I have to attribute that to partly, at least, to having just a large variety of items, right? So if I was just selling shoes, would I have sold $700 worth of shoes? I don't know, maybe, right? I would have a lot more shoes listed, but anyway, I think this helps my business. If you guys have any questions or comments, just leave them below. I'll be sure to read them and respond to any questions that you guys might have. Follow us on Instagram as well, Pro Duo Flippers. And please like, share, comment, whatever you want to do. I'm trying to get this channel to grow. I'm trying to put out more content for you guys, and hopefully this stuff is proving to be helpful for you. But thanks for your time. And until next time, get out there and hustle.